My name is John, and my question is, how do I live in faith and not by formulas? Growing up, I had a strong internal drive to succeed. Even at a young age, I recognized that if I wanted a better life for myself, that I needed to work hard for it. When everyone shared what they wanted to be when they grow up, my friends would say astronaut or firefighter. I said businessman. In my young mind, I just imagined wearing a suit and tie, carrying a briefcase, making tons of money, and living my best life. So in my self-motivation, I went headlong into what I perceived as the way to achieve this goal. Get good grades, score well on tests, and be involved in as many extracurriculars as I could. I did well in all these areas, and over time, recognized patterns and methods of how to game the system for success, such as regurgitating the perspectives my teachers wanted to hear so that they would grade me well, pouring through piles of test prep books, and maximizing my time to attend every possible club and organization that my school offered. I soon recognized that there was a formula to all this, that if I did A plus B in a certain way, that I will achieve C, the outcome that I wanted. That if I played the rules of the game the right way, that I can achieve my goals, which I did, as I went on to a prestigious university and eventually entered a career in business and finance. I also grew up in a Christian household and attended church for as long as I can remember. While I received my salvation at a young age, it wasn't until college that I became much more serious about my faith as I encountered God in powerful ways through the Christian fellowship I was a part of. It led me to redirect my desires to serve God and to let go of a life centered only on my selfish ambitions. After college, I used all of my free time outside of work to volunteer in my local church and to be staff for campus ministry. I soon met my future wife, Elizabeth, on a missions trip and got married not too long thereafter. We entered into marriage really on fire to serve the Lord together and settled together in D.C. We went out every night to attend church events, to go out to talk to people, and to invite them to church. The front desk of our apartment building thought we were part of the CIA because of how often we were out and coming back at odd hours. And I thought we were doing all the right things, but this was also where things began to go badly. As we tried to lead a life group, it was a failure. It was common that we had meetings where no one showed up, or the few who did would not stick around. We were very discouraged, but we just dug in our heels and tried even harder, a cycle that persisted for years. Also, our marriage was suffering. As we struggled with ministry, it created tension between us, each feeling the other was not living up to their spiritual potential. This was in addition to deep-seated hurts from our past that we did not truly deal with because we busied ourselves with ministry. We eventually hit our breaking point when we realized how we were living was not working and not sustainable. It was at this juncture that we changed churches and started coming to the district church, finding a new spiritual home here. It was also the start of the pandemic and allowed a season for us to intentionally step away from leading ministry and using that time to work on our marriage and our personal relationship with God. When I reflect on those difficult years, God revealed to me that I was falling back on old patterns of using formulas to get an outcome, that my focus was doing the outward things, do A and B to achieve C, which was to earn God's pleasure and approval, as if God could be a system that could be gamed. That mindset brought worldly success, but eroded my walk with Christ. This brought a season of turning, repenting, and rediscovering my personal relationship with Jesus, where I felt for the very first time that it was enough to simply be loved by God. That this love is not gamed, it is not contrived through figuring out the right things to do, but that simply I am his child, and that is enough. It says in Galatians 3:11-13 in the Message version, the person who lives in right relationship with God does it by embracing what God arranges for him. Doing things for God is the opposite of entering into what God does for you. Rule-keeping does not naturally evolve into living by faith, but only perpetuates itself in more and more rule-keeping. But Christ redeems us from that self-defeating cursed life. As we went through this season, our marriage began to heal and flourish, as the burden of how we viewed each other lifted into freedom of seeing God's love and grace in each other's lives. Very deep emotional hurts received healing from the Lord during this time. As we felt restored through that season, we felt led and called again to lead a life group, now unburdened by the stress we were putting on ourselves. God was placing a message in our hearts to share about finding our worth in Christ alone. And to our surprise, people joined willingly and consistently without any striving on our part, and we are so thankful to walk alongside and share God's love together. Soon after, God would also call me to join the District Church Executive Board of Overseers as treasurer, and to utilize the financial skills that God has gifted me to bless the church and to lead us through a very important season. I see now that it was God's faithfulness that took me through those difficult years, because if we had succeeded during those years, I would have just doubled down in all the wrong ways. I would have pursued even harder on doing things for God, but not truly being in God. Jesus broke me out of that cycle to see that life with Him is not like the patterns of this world based on inputs and outputs, but that God lavishes His love on me, that I simply receive without feeling I need to achieve it, because I never could. In retrospect, I am reminded of a moment during those difficult years where I attended a ministry event with an outside guest speaker who I did not know. He approached me and prayed prophetically over me. Through his prophetic knowledge, he sensed I worked in business, and he said he saw an image of me coming to a table with a briefcase. And as I opened that briefcase, I was laying out business plans for God's kingdom that was pleasing to the Lord. I had forgotten about those prophetic words until recently, and I'm just marveling at God's faithfulness during my lowest times to speak words of hope over me when I felt so discouraged. He redeemed even my early desires to be a businessman to now be in a situation of those prophetic words coming true as plans for God's kingdoms are being laid out through our church and in this city. God remains faithful even when we get it all wrong. He never stops loving us and invites us to turn to Him. May we surrender the ways we may have been hardwired to find success in this world. It's not the same with God. He is not like this world. There is no formula, only relationship. Our own striving can only last so long. May we receive from the Lord His sustaining love that's beyond anything this world can offer.